Okay, I wanted to look at something. It may not even be long enough to make a video out of, but I figured maybe it would be, and that's extra content for me, and also lets me talk about something I want to talk about a lot. Um, on the left, we seem to, at least a part of the left, doesn't quite know what the word fascism means. It gets thrown around a lot at like everyone. And I think fascistic sort of tendencies are found all over, but I wouldn't say everyone's a fascist. So what we're gonna look at is this video that Vaush, well, it's a Vaush video where he debated this guy named Niko, who worked on like the Tulsi campaign, things like that, and he's basically a Bernie or Buster, or Tulsi or Buster, what Tulsi or Buster sounds way worse, but it's basically a Bernie or Bust type of person, and he's claiming he doesn't want to vote for Biden, and he's about to argue with Vaush why. And the thing is, there aren't many good arguments on why, like, to not vote Biden, if there's any at all. But this has to be one of the worst. And it's also just kind of sad that this guy, we can see how politically, like, uneducated and illiterate he is, while, like, carrying around a following of, like, 30,000 followers. Which I find this really problematic. I don't like that people like this resemble parts of the left, and people actually follow people like this and basically get politically educated from. I think this is problematic, and I don't know. I just think it'd be interesting to talk about. So I'm gonna go ahead and play it.
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
introduce yourself to the stream and then we'll get started, I guess.
My name's Niko House. I am an activist and a broadcast journalist, and I've been a surrogate for Tulsi Gabbard, Jill Stein. I was the former acting state director of North Carolina for Bernie Sanders campaign in 2016, and I also started the largest Bernie Sanders organization in the country in 2016.
See, this saddens me. This guy is like so politically involved. That's why it's so disappointing to see how little he like actually understands, like political ideologies and their relation to one another and things like that. It's just really sad.
So yeah, that's the gist of it.
Nice. All right. Well, I'd say that's pretty good work. Yeah, do you want to present your disagreement with me? I have to warn you, I've had this conversation quite a few times and it ends poorly with near ubiquitous consistency. So we'll have to see how this goes this time.
Well, don't worry because I'm in the same boat, so it's cool. So we'll see how this one goes. But essentially,
I love that he says it always goes bad, and it's probably because he gets destroyed. It is like nearly impossible to defend the Bernie or bust position.
there have been people reaching out to me. You had a debate with a friend of mine recently,
It
and
wasn't
so
socialism
everybody kind
MMA,
of like,
was it?
yeah,
Of
yeah,
course
yeah,
it
yeah,
is.
yeah. Um, and so I didn't get a chance to watch all of it because people were actually suggesting that debate you because of the disagreement that you have on basically whether or not people should vote for Biden. It is, is that truly the lesser of two evils here? And so I'm arguing that Biden is not the lesser of two evils.
So this is a way worse argument than most people will argue. Most people will like admit that Biden is the lesser of two evils, and then they'll come up with some reason on why not to vote for him anyway. But Niko has ruined himself already by saying that actually voting for Biden isn't the worst of the two. I mean, isn't the best of the two evils. Um, which if we look at Trump and Biden, that's going to be like extremely hard to argue against.
And that it
Well,
is
argue for, sorry.
actually the more progressive stance and productive stance to actually.
The most productive stance is not to engage in electoralism at all. That's a big brain take. Let me do nothing. That is the most productive thing.
Not vote for Biden instead of focusing on down ballot races and active.
I hate when people do this because that doesn't make any sense. Why can't you do both? You could vote for Biden while focusing on all these things. Like, everyone acts like voting for Biden is going to take like this insane amount of effort when it really doesn't. You go to a poll, you check a name, you did it. And if you're going to go vote for people in Congress and things like that, you're literally going to go do the same thing. It takes the same amount of effort. This argument doesn't even make any sense to begin with.
Activism
But it does get worse. It gets a lot worse.
to challenge whoever happens to win in 2020.
If you don't think that Biden is the lesser of two evils, why wouldn't you vote for Trump?
Why wouldn't I vote Trump? Because I don't support Trump. Sorry about that.
Do you think Trump is the lesser of two evils?
Not necessarily.
So he's going to say that Biden isn't the lesser of two evils, and then he won't even admit that Trump is the lesser of two evils. One is worse than the other. Even if you want to say that they're basically the same, which they're not, one would still be better than the other.
So you think,
I think
they're
exactly bad? No, I don't think they're exactly as bad, but I think that Biden's presidency could be marginally worse. Who
knew expanding healthcare would be marginally worse? Who knew stopping some of the authoritarian actions done by Trump against protesters would be marginally worse? I don't see how he would be marginally worse.
Plethora of reasons. I mean, basically, you're debating
plethora.
Should I vote for? I'm popular today. Sorry about that.
No
but basically, you're debating, should I vote for neo-fascism or civility fascism?
Now that is top tier political literacy, and this is what we need to get rid of in the left. There is no such thing as civility fascism, okay? And let's explain why. Because something like liberal democracy is very, like, civil. Like, we can have arguments and then get heated and things like that. And we can vote, and who we vote for. We can get heated about who you should vote for. But overall, it's civil. We're not going to, like, war, right? Well, just like socialism is a rejection of... Well, it's not necessarily a rejection, I would say kind of builds off of, but either way, socialism sort of is building off of liberal democracy, but like leaving liberal democracy. Fascism is also leaving liberal democracy in a rejection of all the good things that came from liberal democracy. So you'll see things like an authoritarian state, some sort of ethnic supremacy, some sort of ethno-nationalist, like, I hate to use the word agenda, but agenda, like the rising of a police state. These things aren't civil things. These are literal threats of violence against different groups within the populace. So there is no such thing as civility fascism. That just doesn't exist whatsoever. So I don't understand how anyone can, like, call Biden a civil fascist, because those things are mutually exclusive. You're not a civil fascist. Like, maybe you're civil if you go to dinner with someone and you're actually a fascist, but if you're actually doing fascism, that's not civil.
And the only difference is with neo-fascism, at least we know it exists, because, well, when we're looking at Trump, he's about as loud as he can possibly be. He telegraphs all his plays. And so the things that have been happening under Obama, we actually have attention brought to it under Trump. Whereas with civility fascism, which is what we saw with the Obama administration. And
okay, Obama did some, like, not so great things. Okay, we can talk about how he bombed people in the Middle East and things like that, and these are bad things. There are plenty of things to critique Obama on. Okay? Point to me where he's a fascist. Obama's a liberal. Like, the epitome of a liberal. And at the time, a very progressive one at that. I don't see where fascism comes into play here. Where's the I mean, this dude was a black man even, so there wasn't even some sort of racial or ethnic, like, superiority, supremacy going on. There was no, like, people marching in the streets, keeping people in their homes like we're seeing now. I mean, are we just gonna start calling liberals fascist? Because look, I hold issues with liberals, okay? I'm further left than them. I disagree with them on a ton of things. But we can't be so stupid to think that liberals and fascists are the same thing. You can't... How are we going to get changes done if we just label everyone a fascist that we disagree with on some things, because I'm pretty sure there are plenty of things with liberals we do agree with, like understanding things like systematic racism. There's plenty of liberals that understand that think that we need to go against that. There was plenty of liberals who supported the Black Lives Matter protest, things like that. Fascists don't want to work with us on any of those things. They don't care about those things, and they'll be happy to mow down all the protesters. They're not the same thing, and if we act like they're the same thing, we're shooting ourselves in the foot with our ability to do things within the government, like in politics at all. Because the thing is, we have to cooperate to some extent. And if you don't want to cooperate, you're asking for either basically you're calling for a revolution, which isn't going to happen. We don't have the numbers to do that. Or you're calling for some crazy accelerationism, thinking that that's going to turn everyone left and that they'll stand up and do a revolution, which I guarantee to you, I promise you, that isn't going to happen. You're going to live under fascist rule, and no one wants that. This is just so politically illiterate. Liberals aren't fascist. If you think that, read something. Maybe a dictionary. Like, look something up. Learn something, because you're dumb. This is so dumb. And no one on the left should be talking like this, because you make us look dumb.
What Joe Biden has engaged in really since the existence of his entire career is when you are pushing for fascism, you have supported fascism, but because of what the left, or at least Democrats, may perceive as the lesser of two evils or the greater good.
This guy just doesn't know what fascism is, and that's why if you don't know what a word is, stop using it. If you don't understand politics, stop talking about it. Like go understand things before you talk about it. And Jesus Christ, don't follow people that talk like this, that don't know what they're talking about. Oh my god. The fact that this guy has a following drives me nuts. How can you have a political following while not understanding anything about politics? Especially when you're gonna name fascist the enemy. Shouldn't you know who the fascists are? Let me give you a hint. It's not Joe fucking Biden.
Good at the time, people tell you not to talk about it, not to discuss it, so it never gets addressed, and it becomes a cyclical issue.
What is civility fascism?
So,
this is where he's not going to be able to answer, because civility fascism isn't a thing whatsoever.
For example, despite his son being, dying of cancer, Joe Biden immediately after his son died used his leverage as vice president to threaten countries around the world for considering lowering their cancer drug costs.
Okay, I don't really quite understand the point he's trying to make, but also, how is that fascist?
That's neoliberalism.
And he threatened them.
Exactly, Vaush gets it right. That's just literally the epitome of like neoliberalism. Like, Joe Biden is the epitome of a neoliberal. And the thing is, funny enough, he'll be the most progressive neoliberal we've ever had in the presidency ever. He's plenty away from being a fascist.
It's not fascism.
No. Using your authority and using the fear of sanctions, and because we all know that
authoritarianism isn't fascism.
Sanctions harm the poorest people of any given nation. If any, in understanding the world's, understanding our influence on the world as the biggest and the most fierce hegemony in the country, or in the world.
Vaush's reaction to this is exactly how I felt while I was watching this. The thing is, I followed Niko for a while at one point, and I thought he had like okay takes, but of course I didn't like keep up with his Twitter that much. I just saw the occasional like progressive platitude, and I'd give it like a little like. But Jesus fuck, dude, this is so dumb.
Then you're of course you're going to abide by whatever Joe Biden as the vice president of the United States with that type of executive power.
I agree that's bad, but that's just the soft power that that neo-imperialist capitalist countries use. That's not necessarily fascism. You could conceivably have a social democracy that engages in the exact same behavior. Doesn't mean it's good. I'm not defending it. Just fascism.
No.
To these people, just doing something bad is fascist. That isn't how fascism works, okay? You can do a lot of bad things and not be a fascist.
But you're talking about a decision that was almost made unilaterally by Joe Biden as an executive. And using fear in order to make a decision like that could affect
Joe Biden
millions
has
of
never
people.
been the leader of the executive branch, and even if he was,
but he is an executive.
Even if he was the president, that wouldn't make it fascism. It's the right of the president.
What definition are you using No, no, no. Okay, so that's an authoritarian argument.
Authoritarianism is a part of fascism, but authoritarianism isn't fascism. Okay? It's an aspect. It isn't what fascism is. Okay? This is the thing. Okay, I'm not going to get into that, but I see this everywhere on the right and on the left that authoritarianism immediately means fascism, which just isn't how that works. It's an aspect, so you're kind of there, but it isn't that. Fascism has other things like the rejection of liberal democracy, some sort of ethnic or race supremacy, some sort of like hyper nationalism. There's a few things.
Authoritarians can make the argument all day that they have the legal authority to do whatever the hell
But
they want. That does not make them
authoritarianism isn't
less
fascism.
authoritarian. But authoritarianism is usually inherent in fascism
Yeah,
and
but
vice versa.
authoritarianism is
Now,
inherent in any system that has a president.
This is true. Authoritarianism is inherent of any sort of government at all. Like even a democracy, the fact that there is some sort of force to enforce laws, something that a body that can enforce the laws, that's an authoritarian action. Authoritarian is basically always a subjective thing, but governments will always be authoritarian. I mean, you can't have laws without some sort of authoritarianism. And I'm not arguing for like totalitarian like dictatorships that it doesn't matter, there's no difference between democracy and that because they're all authoritarian. Obviously there's a difference, but in order to enforce any sort of governing, there is authoritarianism. So if we want to call everything that's authoritarian fascism, we have to call democracy, even under socialism, fascism, which doesn't make any sense.
Anytime we submit ourselves to the will of a state, we're necessarily submitting ourselves to an authoritarian system. One of the issues that I have with Bernie or
but
Busters
that
is
doesn't, but that doesn't really change anything I just said, though. That doesn't really address anything.
One of the issues
that just, I'm glad you have your own
wait, my dude, I just let you go
definition.
on. It's not my philosophical definition; it's the definition of fascism. So I let you go off for a bit. Hold on.
What is it? What are you defining as? No, what are you defining as fascism? Because you didn't say the definition of fascism. What is the definition you're presenting as fascism?
One of the big issues that I have with Bernie or Busters is I feel they're categorically incapable of differentiating between liberalism and fascism. The reason this
True. Another problem I have is this weird sort of idea that it was okay to support Bernie, who was a social democrat, who's basically the leftist end of liberalism. Maybe you could okay, just the most furthest left of liberalism, okay? And they were willing to vote for that, even though he wasn't going to bring socialism in, right? They were like, well, he's going to make things better. But for Biden, they kind of flip it and they go like, oh, well, he'll make things better than Trump, but I'm not going to support him because he won't bring in socialism. And it seems weird that you could hold both of those positions at the same time. The thing is with Bernie or Busters is they have a lot of their definitions confused about things, like where people lie politically. And it's a real, like, I hate to pull the Ben Shapiro feelings over facts thing, but that's all it is. They're really mad that Bernie lost, so because Bernie lost, they're gonna cross their arms and pout about it and not actually push for some sort of change at all. And I'm not saying that Biden is gonna fundamentally change the country and all of a sudden tomorrow we're gonna have the hammer and sickle flags up in the air and it's gonna be fucking great. Okay, we're gonna have our planned economy, everyone's gonna be taken care of, socialism's right there. No, obviously not. He's a liberal. It's going to continue capitalism, but the thing is he's going to expand things like a lot of our medical problems he's going to fix, like expanding Obamacare, I think is what he was saying to do. He's also going to like do student loan forgiveness, make college free, I think at least for 2 years, and a lot of other things. And my light just went off. So to say that he is going to be the equivalent of a fascist is just brain dead.
Bothers me is because this is the exact same mistake that the communists made in Germany before the takeover of the Nazis. They were unable to differentiate between the social democrats, who they labeled as social fascists, because fundamentally liberalism leads to fascism, and I agree with that for the most part, and the actual open fascists at the time. And their mistake, along with some other tactical decisions they made at the time that ended up backfiring, enabled the rise of the Third Reich. So I'm very critical of people who will call people like Joe Biden a fascist when what he really is a
What do you
fairly.
define as fascism?
I generally go by Umberto Eco's 14 points.
Okay.
Now, Vaush goes by these 14 points, and they're pretty good. I'm not going to say that it's like a bad way to define fascism. It's pretty alright. The problem is a lot of people say if you like get one of those points, you're a fascist, which I think is like not really good. So I think the best way to describe fascism is like what I was saying before. Obviously, it's an authoritarian regime. It's a rejection of liberal democracy. That's highly important because that's what all these people are forgetting. It is a rejection of liberal democracy. It's either ethnic or racially. There's some sort of racial or ethnic supremacy at its backbone. There's some sort of like usually hyper nationalism, putting the nation over the individual. And some of the things I listed are in the 14 points Vaush goes through, but I think these are the most important, especially the rejection of liberal democracy, because that's kind of what draws the line between a lot of conservatives and fascists. Is a lot of times they'll hold the same values. The difference is fascists are ready to get rid of liberal democracy in order to get those values pushed through, while conservatives are willing to fight for it through liberal democracy. So if you want a quick way to define it, that's basically the best way to define it. Just basically a lot of conservative values with some sort of supremacy plus the rejection of liberal democracy.
Can you summarize them?
I mean, we can go through them. I don't think this is very material to the argument. We can argue the differences.
No. Because you said the whole point of the whole critique is, oh, you can't define between liberalism and true fascism, and you said
he can't. I don't know how he's going to argue that. He doesn't know what fascism is, and he knows he doesn't.
And you said this is the definition of fascism.
What's your definition?
So if we're going to predicate our entire argument, well, no, you're the one who said that your definition was the definition of fascism. We're on your channel, and so I'm trying to get.
You opened this by saying Joe Biden was a fascist for levying sanctions.
And I get that, but you didn't accept my presentation. So now I'm trying to ask you, what do you consider to be the definition of fascism? Because you put that burden there. If you want me to adhere to that,
I'm happy to talk about that.
But you said that's the definition. I just wanted to quick summary.
I'm very interested in your definition first because I don't think you know what fascism means. So I want you to attempt to define it to me before I give you the actual definition that I use.
Well, no, I'm not gonna. I'm going to let you define fascism because I just explained to you why I thought Joe Biden was a fascist, and you said that is not the definition of fascism. So I'm curious
because it wasn't the definition.
The definition of fascism is.
What is your definition of fascism?
I already gave you what I believe to be fascistic.
So Niko believes being a liberal is being a fascist. Let's get that straight. That is Niko's definition of fascism, is liberalism. Okay?
Examples of Joe Biden's nonsensical behavior as an authoritarian fascist asshole.
So
if you don't want to define fascism, then why would you then put the burden out there to make me adhere to some definition of fascism that you don't want to?
Okay, this really gets my nerves because he acts like the definition of fascism isn't important. But in order for us to have conversations about politics, we have to understand the definitions of things. Okay, this is like super fundamental to political discourse. Okay, this is why talking to people about, like, say, communism is very difficult because most people don't know what that means. Most people think that means, like, oh, you're a Stalinist who wants an authoritarian regime, yada, 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 yada. So it's hard to discuss communism, which is one of the things I really hate in politics. I think communism is a great idea, but it's hard to discuss with the average people because no one knows what it means. This is the same problem that's happening to fascism. If we don't understand the definition of fascism, and we're going to demonize whatever we call fascism, then we can just apply that label to anyone to demonize them, even if, in this case, they're the better choice out of, say, Trump. Okay, we could pick Biden over Trump. That's the better case, is to pick Biden. But if we don't understand what fascism is, people can just start calling Biden fascist because they don't have a definition for it. And fascist is a loaded, demonized term, which will then, by proxy, demonize Biden, who is the better choice, which, if anything, is aiding Trump, which is aiding the side of fascism. So it's very, very dumb. Because by labeling someone a fascist, you end up helping out an actual fascist because you don't understand the definition of fascism. So if you're going to engage in political discourse and make such bold claims, you need to know the definitions of words. Okay? I know that sounds really, really dumb. That sounds fundamental. Like, oh yeah, you should know the definitions of words. But it seems like people, like Niko here, don't understand that. You have to know what the fuck you're talking about in order to talk about it. This is common sense. And if you don't know what you're talking about, that's okay. Let someone explain it to you instead of acting like a jackass like this.
Adhere to.
So when a president uses unilateral action, that is fascism?
That's not what I no, that's not defined.
Is
Why
it
are you
when a
asking me if you have the
uses
definition?
unilateral action to do something that hurts other people?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Then I'm
I mean,
struggling
we can go back and forth all day, or you can. Then there's nothing to struggle about, Vaush. Just answer what you consider to be the quote
Sure,
unquote
I can read off the
definition of
14
fascism.
points if you want, but I know how the
That's
conversation is going to go
perfectly
from this
fine.
point.
That
and
way
you're
we have a
wait,
whole
wait, wait,
found.
just wait,
What
wait.
do you mean? Hold
Just so you
on.
know, wait. Just so you know, your unwillingness to define fascism when you opened by making the argument that Joe Biden is a fascist plays very poorly to my perception of your understanding of this issue. It makes you look like you have
I
no
don't-
idea.
I just find this really funny because Vaush obviously just made this guy realize he has no idea what he's talking about. So his only thing is like to like basically retreat and be like, no, you define it. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna argue anymore. You gotta make it. Like putting the burden of proof on Vaush when the burden of proof is obviously on Niko.
What you're talking about.
Your perception of my understanding is irrelevant to me. Your perception of definitions of words are relevant to me for the sake of this debate.
Your argument is irrelevant to you.
Imagine if we just stopped caring about definitions of words. Like we couldn't even like have any sort of conversation. That's why this like line of reasoning he's doing is just so brain dead.
And you introduce the definition because I was actually going to define what I believed to be the definition of fascism.
Then why doesn't he do it?
But then you put the burden on yourself
This is
to say that my
insanely
description.
childish. Sure, okay, then give me 3 minutes and I'll read it out loud. Okay, this is literally like I was going to tell you, but then you made me mad.
We could have a foundation to operate from.
Wait, but I'm looking for your.
We could literally just have. No. Wait. If I read this to you, the definition.
If I read this to you, will you even understand what I'm arguing? Okay, here.
I just don't understand how ignorant people are this fucking arrogant. It'd be so much easier to just go like, well, first before ever making the claim, making sure that you have a good understanding of things. But the moment you realize you don't, you should be willing to listen so you can figure things out. This kind of gets us into the whole thing where people have a really big problem with being wrong. And it's difficult to accept being wrong, but it's actually a really good thing. When you're wrong, that means you get to learn something. You only learn about what's right by learning what's wrong. And here what Niko should do, which would give him like 100 times more respect if he was like, oh, maybe I don't know what fascism is. Could you tell me? Instead of doing it in this really arrogant way of like, I actually know what fascism is. I don't really care what you say. You're wrong, even though I have no idea what fascism is.
Like let's give it a shot.
Okay, hold on, double back. Vaush, did I insult you? Have I insulted your intelligence at all?
I don't think I've done anything stupid yet.
Okay, you may not have insulted his intelligence, but I've definitely insulted Niko's intelligence a bunch, and I can't help it. I'm sorry.
Whereas you have, so I think it's warranted.
No, I can't vouch. Trust me, Mr. Anarcho-Bidenist. Clearly, there's one of us who doesn't know the definition of words, and it isn't me. So
what word?
What? What do you mean, dude? What do you mean?
If you want to have a genuine discussion,
wait, what word do I not know the definition of? If you want to have a
genuine discussion and debate about whether or not Biden is the lesser of two evils.
You say so much dumb shit, but you don't even address it. You just keep talking over me.
No.
Are you a troll?
If you want to have a genuine discussion, Vaush, then we can have a genuine discussion. Or we can gaslight each other and go back and forth.
So what's going to happen after I share the definition that I use, one that's been available for 70 years?
Then we're going to have a debate. Just give me the definition.
Okay, so you realize the definition.
Now you have to adhere to this definition.
So you realize the definition I'm going to provide doesn't describe Joe Biden as a fascist in the way that you did. So after I read this out loud, I want you to explain to me what your definition of fascism is, and then we can resolve the contradiction in our respective positions.
Read the damn definition. Vaush.
Are you going to do? Wait, can you not even commit to that?
I'm going to commit.
This guy didn't come in to have a good conversation at all. I mean, He's not willing to engage. He thought he'd come in here. I guess he thought he was a lot smarter than what he was. He figured he'd step all over Vaush. And instead just realized he doesn't even have an idea of what he's talking about. I really hope he takes this as like a learning opportunity to like maybe read up on politics, maybe pick up a dictionary, look up a few words, you know? Yeah, I don't know. This is just really bad, but it was really funny, so I wanted to respond to it.
Commit to whatever position is best for me to commit to based on the definition you give.
Didn't
That's
know
how
what
debate
fascism
works.
was coming into this. You had no idea.
I didn't know what
you thought it meant authoritarian.
Okay,
you
Vaush.
actually didn't know.
No, that's not what I said. So you nice try, but just define.
That is what he said. I think he said that, and then maybe like describe something about capitalism as well. But he just said liberalism's fascism.
Fascism. I don't know why we're having a 30-minute discussion.
Sure. Okay.
If it's right there.
All right. If this is good.
That hard.
So the first point is the cult of tradition. The second point is the rejection of modernism. The third point is the cult of action for action's sake. The fourth point is disagreement is treason. The fifth point is fear of difference. The sixth point is appeal to social frustration. The seventh point is the obsession with a plot. The eighth point is the enemy is both strong and weak. Is there something funny? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You're literally reading off. So
yeah, wait, that's what you asked me to do.
No, oh yeah, no, and I'm actually very happy that you decided to do that.
You literally you begged me to do this.
I figured you were going to help substantiate my point, and that's why I'm laughing. Because if we just look at several of those points, just right off the bat, just basic analysis.
Yeah, wait, we can have
there's no way he listened to anything he said, because he's trying to say that Vaush pointing out these things proved this point. But they didn't. So I'm assuming he just figured that he could not listen, just dumb, and assume that Vaush was going to make his point. So then he starts acting really cocky and starts laughing and like, haha, I'm actually right. When he's not. I don't understand how people don't have the self-awareness to realize this, especially when you're live on something and a bunch of people are watching you. Like, you would think you'd be more aware that maybe you should listen because everyone else is going to watch you not listen.
Wait. We're not done. Wait, we're not even done with the definition.
Oh, okay.
Also, wait, why are you you couldn't even provide a definition of fascism. You're in no position to laugh.
I could.
But you could. I could. Yeah, like your girlfriend who goes to a different school who no one's ever seen. Yeah. Your definition of fascism who goes to a different school district. Come on, dude.
Trust me, bro. Let's not talk about girlfriend.
This is how you can tell he's not listening, because he thinks that like Vaush is making a personal attack on his girlfriend, which was not at all what he was saying. He was making fun of like the sort of idea that like, oh yeah, I have a girlfriend, she goes to a different school, and he's like basically doing that with the definition of fascism, where he's going like, oh, I know what fascism is. It's this other definition that you never read ever, and it doesn't actually exist. That's the point. But he's too dumb to notice.
Friends. First of all, it's my wife. Second of all,
wait. We're not talking about.
You don't want to compare.
Excuse me.
I want to see them throw hands so bad after this.
Because Pamela, I understand you've been engaged to Pamela for quite some.
Also, this is just super fucking cringe. Okay, don't like pull a middle school like insult when you like clearly don't even know what's being talked about like whatsoever. Like, this is just so bad.
Time, but
what the fuck are you talking about right now?
Yeah, exactly.
No, wait.
Vaush.
No, actually, what the fuck are you talking about right now?
I'm talking about Pamela. You're not familiar with Pamela Henderson? I thought that y'all have been together for a long time.
Cringe, dude.
Wait, did you think that my argument had anything to do with our girlfriends and that I wasn't making an analogy?
Are we going to actually Vaush,
why is every conversation with people like you the same? You actually can't engage in conversation.
People like you? What you mean people? Vaush, you started talking about girls from other schools, bro.
Yeah, as an example of how you can't provide a definition of fascism while claiming to have one. You actually can't understand analogies.
Okay, and I can't. That's an analogy. Oh, now you're changing the definition of analogies too.
Yes.
Right. So anyway, continue. That was a horrid analogy. Just go ahead and continue. Finish your definition so we can finish. So you can finish get roasted. Come on, continue.
it's actually extraordinary to me that every time I have this
Continue.
conversation, wait.
Continue, Vaush. Just continue
Why?
with the damn conversation. This is why I don't
I'm
do
gonna
these
need
without
you.
moderators
Wait,
because
why are you
I'm going to
patronizing?
need
Hold on.
you.
Okay.
I'm going to need you to read the definition so we can have a discussion about politics.
Okay.
I'm not getting into this.
So I'm gonna mute you. I'm gonna mute you for a
forth.
second
I
because I'm
have
actually
better
trying.
things to do.
Okay. Wait. Do you
Oh
want?
my
Wait.
God.
Do you just want to
Can
go?
you read the definition?
Wait. Do you just want
Can
to go?
you read the definition?
You wait. So you
Can you
realize
read
that in a
So in other words,
conversation,
Vaush,
you
I
need
just
to
want- I just wanna
establish the
understand.
term.
You can't be dumb and rude. You have to pick one, okay? You can only be rude if your IQ is above 7, okay? You can't be stupid and rude at the same time in debate politics.
Of I have
Oh,
actually
now we
had
have to
debates
establish.
with
I
Nazis
literally
who are more
the
rational than
first
you.
50. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
And
Hold on. I'm going to mute you. I'm going to mute you for a hot second, okay? So I'm just going to try to explain this to you, okay? So far you have been insanely fucking hostile, and also you're not even engaging with the things that I say. You're running down a dialogue tree. We haven't even begun to discuss the actual issue. Like the thing you came on here to discuss, we haven't even started talking about yet. Now, I can read this out loud to you, and after I'm done with that, I want you to provide me your definition of fascism, and then we will see which one of these two candidates we have for potential presidents in 2020 better adheres to our respective definitions. But I know why you're avoiding sharing your definition with me, and I don't think it's rude of me to be irritated that you would make arguments that you know are wrong and then walk back from them without ever acknowledging you didn't know what you were talking about. I'm willing to defend anything I say in this discussion, but we have to arrive at the discussion before we can even engage in those defenses. Okay? You're unmuted. So I'm going to finish this.
okay,
then you can provide yours.
You're just gonna go on your little diatribe, and I'm gonna finish what I have to say, and then you can go on to your definitions. First of all, Vaush, nobody's backed down from anything. I laughed, and you asked me why I laughed, because as you're providing me definitions, just a few that you've rattled off from your 14 points.
It's just so funny to me. Like, if you really don't have an argument and it shows this bad, I don't understand the level of arrogance it takes to keep going instead of just being like, one, either if you really think you're right and that Vaush was wrong here, you would just leave because you're like, this isn't productive. Or two, you would try to actually understand what he's saying. I don't understand how you can be so arrogant to continue trying to belittle someone when you're completely and utterly, you have no idea what you're talking about. It's just mind-blowing. And it's even more mind-blowing that someone like this has garnered some sort of following. Actually, maybe I shouldn't be that surprised, because people like Tim Pool have a following. But honestly, this dude's level of intelligence is the same as Tim Pool, and Tim Pool's ability to get a following has blown my mind as well. This is just pathetic.
Which you asked me to do.
I could go on it. Do you want to let me finish talking or not?
Are you?
I have
wait,
no problem.
are you
So
actually
rude.
accusing me of interrupting you?
Okay, Vaush, are you going to let me finish discussing or not?
I'm just going to go back to muting you. So I'll finish reading these and then you can talk. So point 9 is pacifism is tracking with the enemy. Then we have contempt for the weak. Then we have everybody is educated to become a hero. We have machismo and weaponry, selective populism, and then Urafascism makes newspeak. Now, obviously, these are just the titles. I don't know if you would be patient enough to allow me to read the descriptions of any of them, but we can talk about them point by point. Before we get to that, though, I would like you to either A, give me a definition of fascism you were using, or B, acknowledge you didn't have one and you thought fascism meant authoritarianism. Okay? So I'm going to unmute you. Wait. I'm going to unmute you, and then I want you to do one of those two things.
Okay, so let me be very clear about something. You don't dictate how I decide to engage in discourse. So there's one.
Wait, I absolutely do. Yeah. If you're dodging every question, yeah, I do.
No. First of all, I haven't dodged any questions. Second of all, you never let me finish answering the first question, which I'm still trying to answer, and I've been trying to answer for the last 10 minutes. So first, I will address your original rebuttal, which was nothing that I have said at that point about Joe Biden adhere to the definition, quote unquote, the definition of fascism. Based off of what you provided, That is ridiculous.
What is your definition of fascism?
That is utterly ridiculous.
So you're not going to tell
First
me.
of all, I'm going to give my definition of fascism as soon as I address everything that I said and then everything that you just said. Then I will define why I decided to use those examples.
How long do you expect that will take?
Oh, sweet baby Jesus. I don't know, Vaush. I'm on your time. What's up, man? What do you need from me?
Well, ideally, you could provide your definitions immediately.
It took you 30. Listen, Vaush, it took you 30 minutes for me to convince you to provide a definition that you put the burden to provide.
I put the burden on you.
You the one who said that
We're never going to discuss the actual issue
definition.
Here. Yeah, hold on.
Clearly, your intention was never really to discuss the issue.
Do you have any final words for the stream? We're literally 20 minutes in, and I actually can't talk about this.
So in other words, so hold on. So you realize that you couldn't actually debate me on Joe Biden.
You can't wait.
So your intention
that isn't what happened.
Debate. We can't even get there.
Yeah, you're right.
You were so polite on Twitter. What happened?
You are. Trust me, Vaush, you haven't seen Not Polite yet. I'm still in polite mode.
What is this, like, trying to gangster? What the fuck are you talking about? I'm just trying to talk with you about my ideas. Why are you acting like this?
E-gangster?
Yeah. You know, like keyboard warrior? Yeah.
Keyboard warrior?
Yeah.
Vaush, really?
Yeah.
Are you didn't have a lot of friends.
Wait, you're not even again, you're not responding to anything I say.
You didn't have
Okay, I'm gonna stop because it's like pathetic to keep listening to that, and Vaush is gonna like kick him off the stream in a second. He just doesn't understand his definitions, so then he gets like really mad and he just throws insults. But I mainly wanted to just point at it because of the problem with definitions, where he doesn't want to actually use the definitions, like things that like words correctly. He wants to use words incorrectly in order to sell a narrative that he has built inside of his own head, which is like really annoying and stupid, and it's just literally just as bad as conservatives displaying what socialism is wrongly. I mean, it just hurts our ability to have political discussions, and it's just sad to see someone who supported candidates I support, like Bernie, act like this and not have any clue what they're talking about, especially when they have like nearly 30,000 people that they're influencing. And something I also wanted to look at was he copes so hard on Twitter afterward. He goes through and he says Vaush rage quits. Vaush rage quits again, and then he's like, he posted like 4 times. Did he delete his other stuff? So Vaush v rage quit the debate when he realized I actually knew Biden's real record and couldn't play the games he tries to play with everyone else. He gaslights. Biden supporters are just losing voters, but doing so in a spectacular fashion, which is just not even like what happened. He never even brought up really Biden's record besides like naming one thing that he did. It's just so dumb. This is such a cope. I think I commented on this one. Man told him you unironically got destroyed putting your political illiteracy on display. I would strongly recommend doing some reading. May I recommend a dictionary? Not to laugh at myself, but I thought that was really funny. Also, in one of these, I guess he deleted it because he realized he retweeted a Nick Fuentes fan who had posted something out of context of Vaush, and he retweeted it because he was just that mad at Vaush about it, which it seems like he deleted. But I pointed that out in one of the comments, and then I asked him to debate me. Of course, he won't. But if y'all all want to, y'all can all harass him and send him here. I would gladly debate Niko. Lovely so. I mean, if he really feels like he was cheated out of the debate and that Vaush ran away, that he rage quitted, I would love to have a conversation with this guy. Maybe I'll bring a dictionary and we can like go through some words. We can learn some definitions. But yeah, I just think this attitude is really bad on the left. We should like be consistent in our definitions. We should know what things mean so we can have actual conversations. Because if not, we look stupid. If we look stupid, no one's gonna support us. And we have good arguments that don't require lying about what words mean. We don't have to do these tactics. Our arguments are strong enough. They're backed up by tons of data and things like that. So this is just really bad. I hope no one else does this. I hope the people who are following him don't follow this example. And Please get Niko to debate me. I would love it so much. Okay, I just want to start my debate bro career by starting with someone who thinks liberalism's fascism. It'd be great. I guess that's it though. So see ya.